Hello friends, welcome back. We would continue this series on Rewrite API and would check about the custom permalink structure. You can create custom structure by using available tags. For example, let's say I want to use an article and I want to use a category assigned to that post in the URL. Hence, I will use this tag. Now I want to use a post name and then the post ID. But I want the dash between the post name and the post ID. If I click on Save Changes, go back to the second window and refresh the page. And when you click on the block image post view, you can see the article, which is the static front we have used, and then block, which is the category assigned to this block image post, then the block image, which is the post slug, then hyphen, then 15, which is the ID of the post. Similarly, we have constructed the custom URL structure and it generated rewrite rules, which are saved in the database. Based on this custom structure, the rewrite rules, the WordPress will identify our post request and then get the data from the database based on the custom URL structure and then display it in the front end. Similarly, the custom structure works and the article here become the front of that permalink structure. We'll talk about how this article will affect or be used for the movie post types, custom post types, or custom taxonomies. Okay, so let's keep it here. A custom structure. For we have selected this custom structure for now for the posts. Let's now discuss the category and tag base. We'll begin by checking the default category and tag base. If I check the block category on the front end, you will notice the block category here. Both the articles, category, and block will be visible. Since articles is also used here, it serves as the front part of the permalink structure, as set in the permalink settings. Because article is used here, just like when we configured in the permalink settings, it becomes the front of the permalink structure. By default, custom taxonomies, or default post types are applied to the front. This means whatever is set to the front of the default permalink structure will also be reflected in the URL structure elsewhere. If you want to remove it, you can do so easily, and I'll show you how. But by default, the URL structure for categories is as shown. Now let's look at the tags. When you click on the tag section, such as alignment tag, you will see a similar structure where the front is article followed by the tag and the tag term and then the tag slug. To modify this, go to the permalink settings where you can change the base for both categories and tags. For example, you might choose to shorten the category base to C instead of category and the tag base to T instead of tags. After making this change, click on Save Changes, which will flush the rewrite rules. So this is the way it would change the category and tags permalink structure. Once you refresh the page and revisit the category section, you will notice that the front of articles has been removed. The new base C will now appear with the category slug. This change directly affects the category base, which in turn updates the front value in the permalink structure. Don't worry, I'll explain how this works with the front argument in the rewrite rules within the register taxonomy and register post type functions. So in this way, it would change the category and tags permalink structure. And if you go back to tags on the front end, you can see the /t. Okay, so this way we can change the permalink structure for the default post and category basis. Now if you go to the pages, then in the pages will be default. So if you go to the block page and here if you click on view, simply just a block page, which is the slug of the block page. So if you like click on the sample page, so then only sample page. Since the pages don't have any front or anything, they directly use the domain and then slug of the page. Now let's talk about custom post types and custom taxonomies. We have created two post types, movie and people. So in the movies, if you see here in the view, so in the URL you can see the article, then movie, which is a post type slug, and then a slug. So this is the structure. So what if we don't want this article to be in the front in the custom post type and I want only the movie and the Dark Knight? I want to remove this article, which is at the front of the permalink structure. How do we do that? So if you go to the plugin here, in the post types folder in the movie.php file, this is the register post type function we have used. And here we have to use this rewrite. By default, we have set it to true. So it will use the default value to construct a custom permalink structure or to rewrite also. So let's see what are the values of the rewrite into the code. So in the register post type function documentation, if you go here, this is the rewrite. So this rewrite will accept either boolean value or an array. Boolean if it's true, then it will just use the default values of the slug or with front then construct the URL structure. But if you want to customize, then you have to pass the array. So first is a slug, which is the add item of this rewrite rule array. To customize a permalink, so it refers to post type. Post type means the post type slug, but post type slugs we have passed. And then with front, like whether we want to pass this with front, we want to keep it or not. Don't worry, in the next video, I will give an overview of the WP Rewrite class and its properties and its function and how it's used. Okay, so for now, just assume that this is the front value, which have a value based on the front or static value added into the permalink structure. So if you remember, go back to the permalink settings here, you can see the article here. So which will become your front. When we use a custom URL structure, if we remove it, then there is no issue. For example, if I remove something and only use the custom placeholders, then save the changes and go to the movies post type, you won't see the custom slug anymore. But what if I want to include this article in the URL structure for the default post type, but not for the custom post types? So I'm going back and then I'll go to the permalink settings and add it back here. Here I will add article. Now let's go to movies and it has been changed. So now let's go back here and so we have to pass this with front. So the default is the slug. So I want to keep it movie font now. Okay, so let me just go here and I will pass it in an array format. So here in the array, I will pass a slug, which is movie and which is the default one. So if you don't pass, then it's also fine, but I'm keeping it here. Then I will pass the with front and I will pass false because we don't want the article word in the URL structure. And if I go back here, go to settings, permanent settings, and then save changes. And then if I go to movies and if I click here, view now, the article would have been removed because we have passed the with front false. Also, when we register a post type and pass the with front of the rewrite parameter, we told that we don't want to use the front. Whatever the front has been added into the default permalink structure of the post. So, based on these arguments, it would create the custom permalink structure and we can use it for the front end side. Now, if we go back to our person post type and let's say view any person on the front end, you can check this. We still have articles on front being added. This is because we also need to update our person CPT and change the rewrite argument to pass it as an array with slug and with front keys as false in the array. Now, since we have changed something with rewrite rules, we need to flush the permalinks. So I would go to settings, permalinks, and save changes, which would regenerate new rewrite tools based on what we added. And it would update the structure in options table as well. So to reflect our custom update rewrite rules, we have to flush the rewrite rules. We can also do programmatically using the flush rewrite rules function. But that function should not be called on each request, as it would hit the DB request for a write operation, which may hinder the performance. So the best way to do this, if you are a plugin or theme developer, you can use the plugin activation or deactivation hook. So when you activate your plugin, flush the rules. For example, navigate to movielibrary.php and within MLB activation, you can perform flush operation during plugin activation. During plugin activation, you can register a custom post type, custom taxonomies, and custom rules followed by flushing the rewrite rules. Since we are modifying the arguments of the custom post type directly, there's no need to repeat this process continuously. If the plugin is deactivated and then reactivated, the flush rewrite operation will execute after the rewrite rules are updated. But for now, let's instead of again deactivating and activating, we can just simply flush it from the settings for a quick update. So we have now changed the person. If we go to the person post type and view any person, you can see that it has now not taken articles in front. So this is what we need to achieve. Now, similarly, we can do it for the taxonomies. If we go and view any taxonomy term URL inside custom taxonomy, you can see that we have the article in front. So what we can do is we can just copy and paste the same thing and add it where we registered the taxonomy in register taxonomy function. The register taxonomy function has the same arguments as register post type for rewrite. Now we can add it for custom taxonomy as well. Since we have some updates on the rewrite rules, we need to flush the permalinks. So I need to go to permalink settings and need to save changes to flush the rewrite rules. Now, if I visit any taxonomy custom term and view it on the front end, we can see that the article with front have been removed. Okay. Similarly, so now what if we want to change the URL structure? For example, for the movies, there is a movie. But what if you want to keep it as a film? So let's check how we can change it. Now let's go to the movie post type. Remember we have passed the slug as movie here in the rewrite, right? But if you want to add some different slug in the URL structure, you can pass the same. Let's say we pass the film here. Now for the person post type, let's say instead of person or people, I want that to be something else, like the actor. So movie has some actors, right? So this is the best slug for the person for front-end URLs. Now, if I save this, go to the permalink settings and save changes to flush the rewrite rules, it would run a register post type function. Check for the rewrite argument it would construct the new rewrite rules and update inside the DB, and it would take effect. Now let's go to the movies post type and view the same on the front end. You can check that we now have film instead of movie here. And the same for the person post type. We have actors instead of person slug in the URL. So in this way, we can change the URL structures. Now, similarly, for the custom taxonomy that we have registered, like genre or career, what if we don't want the URL to be the same as a slug? We can pass whatever we want to rewrite the argument as we did for the post types. Now, what if you want to also change the archive page? For the movie, if we go here and click on view movies, it will land you on the archive page for the movie post type. If the has archive is true, you can see the movie here. But in the URL, we have film. For example, for person, you can see the people here. But in the URL, we have actor. You can see film here because we have passed it as film. I want to keep it plural. Films for the archive page. You can change the archive page URL using the has archive argument. So, if you see the has archive here in the register post type function, if it's true, then it will take the slug from the rewrite. If a string, the archive slug to use will generate a property that if the rewrite is enabled. By default, it is false. So if you don't want the custom post type archive page, you can pass the false and it won't generate any archive page. But if you want to generate, you can pass it as true and either it will take a custom post type slug by default or the slug passed to the rewrite rule. So we have passed the custom slug, so that's why it's taking the film in the has archive URL. But if I want to keep it as the same thing as films, and for the person, I want to keep it as people. So if I go here in the permalink settings and save changes to flush the rewrite rules and click on movies, view movies. Now you can see the films in the archive page, right? And if I go back to the people, if you click on view person, you can see the people here. Similarly, for taxonomies, you can change the slug here. Here in the post type, rewrite applies to the single post and has archive only works for archive pages. But taxonomy does not have the single. It only has an archive page. That's why there is no has archive argument for the register taxonomy. But it will have only rewrite, which will apply directly to archive pages. So now we have seen how these things work when we register a post type, how this rewrite has been added and generated, and everything. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Jai WordPress.